They still smile when you enter the room. They still ask how your day was. They laugh at your jokes, sit in their favorite chair, and sip their tea just like always. Everything looks normal. But something's different, and unless you're paying close attention, you won't notice it until the silence is permanent. You see, when a senior is quietly beginning to say goodbye, they rarely announce it. There's no dramatic moment, no flashing lights. Instead, there are soft, barely visible shifts. Their spirit begins to dim slowly, like a candle's final flicker. They'll tell you they're fine, maybe even better than usual. But something in their eyes starts to look distant. And if you've ever lost someone, you might remember that strange moment when it hit you. They were already leaving, long before they were gone. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 subtle behaviors that might mean a loved one is beginning their final chapter. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. Because I don't want you to miss your last chance to say what needs to be said. And if any part of this reminds you of someone in your life, please tell me in the comments. Where are you watching from, and who are you thinking about right now? Someone out there needs to hear this today. Someone needs this warning before the goodbye becomes real. Let's begin. The first sign is so gentle, so heartbreakingly quiet, that most people brush it off. They start giving things away, but not in a grand, obvious way. It begins with small objects, a favorite book they've kept for years, a necklace they wore on special days, an old photo they used to keep tucked inside a drawer. You'll think it's just sentimentality or maybe a kind gesture. I want you to have this, they say softly, placing a worn wristwatch into your hand. And you smile, say thank you, maybe even tear up a little. But you don't realize what's really happening. To them, it's not just a gift, it's a quiet farewell, a way of making sure that parts of their life, their memories, their love, live on in the hands of those they trust. They're putting things in order in their own way. You might notice they're cleaning out drawers they never touched before, passing along recipes, family stories, or tiny keepsakes they suddenly don't need anymore. And what hurts the most is they never frame it as goodbye. They act fine, they smile, but deep down they know what they're doing. They're letting go of the physical world, one object at a time. It's their way of leaving pieces of themselves behind before the final moment comes. If someone you love is doing this right now, I want you to look deeper. Ask them about the stories behind those things. Hold on to the meaning, because years from now, you'll realize those weren't just objects. They were messages, final ones. And the next behavior? It's even harder to notice, and it's something they start doing with their words. They begin talking differently, not in the way you'd expect, not in dramatic farewells or heavy goodbyes, but in soft shifts that slip right past most people. They speak less about the future and more about the past. You'll notice it when you ask about upcoming plans. Instead of lighting up about birthdays or holidays, they'll pause, smile gently, and say something like, "We'll see," or "if I'm still around." They're not being dark. They're not trying to scare you. It's just that something inside them has started to turn inward. They talk more about childhood memories, old friends who are no longer here, songs from decades ago that suddenly seem to mean more. They might bring up things you haven't heard in years, stories you thought were long forgotten. And it's not just nostalgia. It's almost like they're reviewing their life in quiet reflection, as if flipping through the final pages of a photo album before closing the cover. Pay close attention to the words they choose. Sometimes they'll say things like, "I'm proud of you," or "promise me you'll be okay." Simple, loving words that sound normal on the surface, but hit differently when you realize they might be preparing their heart to let go. There's a softness in their voice, a slowing down in their sentences. They're not rushing anymore. They're choosing every word carefully because deep down they know these conversations might be some of the last. And while they're still smiling and telling you they're fine, their voice is doing something their body isn't ready to say yet. If you've ever heard someone speak like that, calm, reflective, a little too peaceful, it might have been their way of saying goodbye without ever using the word. And what they do next? It doesn't involve words at all. It's something you feel in the room, a shift in energy, and most people miss it completely. something begins to change in the energy around them. A quiet stillness, an almost sacred calm that settles into the space where they sit. You can't explain it, you just feel it. It's like time slows down in their presence, like everything noisy in the world fades away when you walk into the room. You'll find yourself lowering your voice without knowing why. You'll sit down beside them and realize that 5, 10, even 20 minutes have passed in silence. And it doesn't feel awkward, it feels peaceful. This stillness isn't just physical, it's something deeper, something spiritual. Their movements become slower, more deliberate. They might sit by the window longer than usual, watching the sky, the trees, the birds, things they never had time for before suddenly become moments of quiet reverence. And as strange as it sounds, they seem less bothered by things, less reactive, less in a hurry to explain themselves. It's like they've made peace with something the rest of us are still afraid to look at. You may even notice them sitting alone in a room without distraction, no TV, no phone, no sound, just being. And when you ask what they're thinking, they smile and say, "Oh, nothing really." But the look in their eyes tells a different story. It's not nothing, it's everything. It's acceptance. This calm isn't depression, it's not defeat, it's something sacred, like the soul is beginning to loosen its grip, preparing for a quiet departure. And it's often so gentle, so serene, that most people don't realize it until after. They'll say, "She seemed so peaceful that day. I didn't know that was the last time I'd see her like that." And by then, the stillness has already become silence. If someone you love is starting to carry that kind of peaceful weight, don't rush them, sit with them, match their quiet, because that stillness might be one of the last gifts they're offering. But the next sign, it hurts in a different way, because it's not about what they say or do. It's about who they start drifting away from. They begin to pull away from the people they love most, not out of anger, not out of coldness, but out of something far more difficult to face: quiet surrender. You'll notice them skipping phone calls they used to answer right away. They might cancel plans without a real reason, saying they're tired or that it's just not a good day. But deep down, something else is happening. They're retreating, not because they don't love you, but because a part of them is already beginning to say goodbye. It's as if they're trying to soften the blow for you and for themselves. Less time together now, so it won't hurt so much when the time comes. You may find them spending more time alone in their room or sitting outside by themselves, eyes far off in the distance, not really watching the world, but slowly detaching from it. Some days they'll be fully present, laughing, remembering. Other days they're harder to reach, even when you're right beside them. It's like their spirit is flickering in and out between two worlds. And if you ask if they're okay, they'll likely say yes, because they don't want you to worry. They don't want you to grieve them while they're still here. So instead, they quietly retreat, gently making space between you and them, like the tide slowly pulling back from the shore. And if you're not paying close attention, you'll chalk it up to mood swings or aging, or just having a quiet day. But if you've ever lost someone, you might remember how it felt when they started pulling away, how you brushed it off, and how later you wished you had just held them closer in that moment. This subtle withdrawal is often the heart's way of preparing for what the mind can't yet accept. It's not rejection. It's not distance out of bitterness. It's love in its most painful form, protecting you from the storm it knows is coming. And the next sign? It doesn't involve others at all. It's something happening inside their body, something they'll never say out loud, but you might begin to notice anyway. Something shifts in their relationship with their body, but they won't talk about it. Not because they don't feel it, but because they don't want you to worry. They start eating less, pushing the plate away gently, saying, "I'm just not hungry today," or "I'll eat later," even if later never comes. The foods they once loved, warm apple pie, the coffee they drank every morning, their favorite Sunday roast, now sit untouched. They sip water, nibble at toast, and smile like nothing's wrong. But something is, and it's not about the food, it's about the body letting go. You might notice their clothes fitting looser, the ring that once snugly fit now sliding around their finger. You might catch them dozing off in the middle of conversations, drifting into long naps in the middle of the day. Their energy fades, not all at once, but in small pieces. They walk a little slower. They sit a little longer. They sigh more often and not always from pain. Sometimes it's just the weight of carrying time and knowing it's slipping away. Their body starts sending signals that even they don't fully understand. A sudden chill that doesn't go away, a shortness of breath when getting out of bed, a look in their eyes like they're far away, even when they're right in front of you. And yet they'll insist, "I'm fine," because that's what the brave ones always say. They don't want their final days to be marked by worry or panic. They want peace, dignity, quiet. So they hide the discomfort, they cover the exhaustion, and they turn the focus back to you. How are you doing? They're still being the caretaker, the protector, the strong one, even when their body is whispering that the end may be near. And here's the part no one prepares you for. It all happens so slowly that you barely notice it, until suddenly it's fast. One day they're sitting with you, sharing memories. The next, they're too tired to get out of bed. The shift from not hungry to not speaking happens like the sun setting behind clouds. You think you have more light, but suddenly it's dark. That's why these quiet physical signs matter. They are the body's way of saying what the heart refuses to admit, and often they're the last warnings we'll ever get. If someone you love is starting to eat less, sleep more, and withdraw from even the smallest physical routines, they're not being lazy and they're not just tired. Something deeper may be unfolding. Sit with them, feed them love if not food, hold their hand even when they say they don't need anything. Because in those final moments, your presence becomes more nourishing than any meal. Your voice becomes the last sound they'll remember. And when they finally close their eyes for the last time, you'll know you didn't miss the signs. You honored them. You stayed. You saw them. And sometimes that's all they were hoping for in the end. If this message reached your heart, if you saw someone you love in these quiet signs, or if you've already said goodbye to someone who showed them, please take a moment to tell us their name in the comments. Honor them. Remember them. Let their story live here, even if just in a few words. And if this video helped you see things more clearly, if it made you pause and think, please share it with someone who might need it too. These signs are too quiet, too easy to miss, and sometimes one video can help a family prepare, connect, or simply be present before it's too late. We're building a community here, a place for grace, remembrance, and love. So let us know where you're watching from, subscribe if this helped you, and know that you're not alone. Wherever you are, whatever you're feeling, someone else understands. We see you. We're with you. And for those we've lost, we will never forget you.